What up, 5-6? For the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about world religions. We started off the series with a review of Christianity, as we all know very well. We then talked about what it looks like to be a follower of Islam, and then took a look at Hinduism. This week, we're going to jump into the religion of Buddhism. Now, to know the history of Buddhism, I'm going to read you a little story. So I want you to gather round, children. It's story time with Miss Sandy. You ready? On a night more than 2,000 years ago, a prince was born in India. He could have been the most powerful king in all the world. When he was born, the wisest Brahmin in all the land predicted that if the baby ever left the palace, all of the suffering he sees in the world would make him suffer, and he would be too compassionate to bear it. As the prince grew older, he chose to become a common beggar, seeing a way to end the suffering he saw around him. Although he grew up in the Hindu religion, he felt that Hinduism did not give good answers as to why these things were part of life. He knew riches couldn't end suffering, and he learned that deprivation couldn't end suffering. So with that, he left his home, spent time in a forest, and had an experience called the Enlightenment. He came to believe the cause of suffering was wrong or misplaced desire. The solution, he believed, was the path of right thoughts, right actions, and right deeds. After his time in a forest, he went out and spread his teachings across the land and gained the followers. Thus, Buddhism was born. So let's take a look at the core beliefs of Buddhism. The core beliefs of Buddhism are based on the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is all life is suffering. Most people would understand that life is suffering, but the tricky part for everyone is that all life is suffering. The second noble truth is suffering is caused by our own desires. The reason you suffer is that you desire something and you can't or don't get it. Noble truth 3. One can be freed from desire if you stop desiring those desires. Well, how do you do that? That takes us to noble truth 4. One is freed of desire by following the Eightfold Path, or the process in which to overcome suffering and experience right living. This includes right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindset, and right concentration. In other words, the Eightfold Path focuses on ethical living, mental discipline, and wisdom. The Eightfold Path is not really a checklist to follow in order, but summarizes the how to overcome desire and, in the end, overcome suffering. The goal of Buddhism is to achieve enlightenment, which is known as nirvana. Similar to Hindus, Buddhists believe in rebirth, which is preferred to reincarnation. There are two main groups within Buddhism. They are the Theravada and the Mahayana. Theravada Buddhism is the traditional teachings of Buddhism that we've been discussing thus far in this lesson. The Mahayana Buddhism sees the Buddha as a deity and also believes in bodhisattvas, who are enlightened individuals who try to help others achieve enlightenment. While meditation can happen anywhere, many Buddhist monks worship in temples or pagodas. The Buddhist holistic teachings contain the sutras, which are the words and teachings of the Buddha. While Buddhism started in the Indian subcontinent, it is actually practiced in other places besides India, mostly in Southeast Asia and parts of East Asia. There are approximately 376 million Buddhists worldwide today, with about 2.5 million in the US. So, what are the key views of Buddhism? Let's take a look at how Buddhists see God, mankind, and salvation in comparison to Christianity. Let's talk about God. Traditional Buddhism doesn't focus on the need for a God, but rather revolves around people finding truth within them. Buddhists don't deny that God or gods exist. They just don't believe they are important. Buddha never desired to be a god either, but as time went on, we found out that some branches of Buddhism, the Mahayana, consider him a deity. Let's take a look at mankind. So, Buddhists view mankind. Sin is not our problem. Ignorance is. Life is a journey to reach enlightenment through meditation. Life itself is meaningless, and our true self does not exist. And lastly, salvation. Reaching enlightenment stops the process of reincarnation as desire, and suffering is eliminated. Nirvana is then reached, often viewed as a state of non-existence. So how do we share the gospel with our friends who are Buddhists? We need to understand that Buddhists have a different view of the world than we do, just like any other religious group. And we need to explain biblical concepts carefully and clearly to them. And it's important for us to share our journey of faith because, as we found out, Buddhists have a journey to enlightenment. So pointing out that the answer was in the person and work of Jesus Christ and not yourself could help that conversation move along. That's all I got for today. We will see you later.